Hello, good evening, and welcome back. So there are further developments in over-sexualization of children in British schools, as we see the whole school is sorry, in quotation marks, and that actually works doubly, as we'll get onto, after pupils researched porn homework on web. Sorry is a quote, but sorry is also quite the false apology. So as we see here, an excerpt of the work that was set for pupils in years 7, 8, and 9, so from 11 to 14 years of age. Yes, so before teenage, that we have things ranging from defining sexuality, drag queens, heterosexual, homosexual, transvestite, transgender, pornography, regular pornography, soft porn, hardcore porn, revenge porn, and sexting. And of course further on to drugs and the like. This is set out in a PSHE class, as in the Personal, Social and Health Education Learning, which is the kind of thing which you would want covered at some point, but with anything like this, when they tend to go into more detail and try to be more inclusive about different types of people and their preferences when it comes to different genders, and then homosexuality, transsexuality, these sorts of things, and transgender as well, it's that the more groups you get, the end point of the collectivization of the groups, because everybody's got to have a special group because of the purity spiraling, that you end up down to the individual. In order to do that from a group mentality, you have to hone in again and again and again and again, because everybody's got to feel special. You can't simply say, man and woman, that's good, we're going to leave it really vague. No, we now have to include other groups. And because of that, you then have to get into the particulars. So then if you have to define heterosexuality and homosexuality, then you're going into transsexual and transgender, and here in particular transgender pornography, for whatever reason. And so things are getting more and more graphic and explicit the more groups that you include, because you have to differentiate between them. So by all means, tell 11-year-olds about sex, if you will, get them to understand what is happening, because you have to temper this very carefully with when children would start sex. You want to inform them about sex before they start having sex, so that they can be kept safe. Yes, of course, the legal age of consent in the UK is 16 years of age, but we all know that teenagers have sex before they're 16 years of age. Of course they do. In which case, it's important to know what precautions can be in place, and therefore how to keep those children safe should they wish to do those things. It's fully understandable, but how much detail is actually required? How much should the schools be doing, and how much should it be down to the parents? Can you rely on the parents to take a significant interest in their children's lives in order to teach them about sex at an accurate age? Of course, it's very understandable that parents do not know about their children's boyfriends or girlfriends when they first make them, because children always keep secrets from their parents. That's not a surprise. So as the story goes on to mention, they will also ask questions about alcohol, drugs and smoking as part of the homework. So, as they go on to say, that with the material, the reason why they went to searching it online, sirens everywhere in Manchester, the reason they went on to look at it online is because that's what people tend to do. That's what children tend to do growing up in an internet culture, that of course they do. And there were materials given out which had all the answers, apparently. So Mr. Bell, the headmaster, said, "I'm genuinely sorry if parents or students have unnecessarily researched any of these phrases and for any offence caused by this mistake." He said students were not directed to research these topics themselves on the internet, because all the answers to the questions posed are contained in the teacher-produced materials we shared. Yes, but the internet is going to give you more information, and if it's something that piques your interest, then of course you're going to research it more, and that's what every good teacher should be doing. A good teacher doesn't really have to do much teaching, they just have to get the student interested in the topic, and the student will do it themselves. That's the difference between finding things online and actually having a teacher, because the teacher then gets you to like something which otherwise you wouldn't do, and that is why it tends to be that, if you remember from your school time, the topics that you enjoy, or the subjects which you did well in, was probably one with a good teacher or your favourite teacher. They made you interested in the topic, and now you know more about it. That's the difference. But people seem to forget it and just think, oh, there's a syllabus, let me just teach it to you. Got any questions? Let's explain them. That isn't how teaching should work. So Mr. Bell goes on to say, the work was in line with government guidance, but added, I have asked that no future PSHE materials contain any potentially sensitive content and will ensure all materials are fully age appropriate. A spokesman for the Department for Education said it was a matter for the school and had no further comment to make. Which means this will not be an isolated incident. There very well could have been other schools already, and it simply hasn't made the news, or there will be some in the future, because this is on the syllabus. This is something that has to be covered by any school in the UK, and something that you can pull your children out of the schools, because of course you can't. Homeschooling is illegal. Instead, they will have to cover this. So if you wish to take the first step, then you'll be having to teach your children before they're 11 years old about all of these things. And if you think that they shouldn't be taught about these things, then by all means join the Islamic protesting, because all that can really be done about this is to try and do it from a higher level, because otherwise they will find a way to sneak in these things into schools. So it's got to be an attack on the syllabus and not an attack on this school, because they were following the syllabus and then children's curiosity got the better of them, as of course it did, and that is what caused them to research it online. So you've got to be a responsible parent, which is not only looking after your children, but also being concerned about what they're learning at school. You should always be taking an interest in what your child is learning anyway, as it is likely to be some socialist doctrine that they're slowly being acclimatized into. But that's what you can do about it. So, I hope you all enjoy a break from the coronavirus and looking at porn online. And until next time, as always, have a good one.